Climbers, there's a song climbing the charts right now in country music that is both a rule breaker and shows you where the bar is set if you want to get cut yourself. We're going to talk about that song today. What song is it? Well, we'll tell you in a bit. Johnny, do that thing.
Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. We want you to win. This podcast exists because we want you to win. And the way to win is to create leverage. And leverage is the key. That's why I called it the Climb. C.L.I.M.B. Creating leverage in the music business. Say leverage one more time, Johnny. Leverage. That is a backstream from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's a hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. And what I love about him is that he helps artists and songwriters like you become professional. He reveals how to be professional by teaching you how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on the regular, he gives you opportunities to create relationships with the pros. And you can find Brent very easily if this is what you want to do at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it sounds complicated, but thankfully he's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, now I'm wondering, when you see climbers out, because you see them out more than I do they ever say, like, there is no S because there is no other?
I get that.
You get that?
Just I get that a lot. That's a common phrase. Yeah. When I see that, it's kind of funny. It's like I saw a meme on that where they're asking like famous actors, like what do you get when people run into you?
Oh yeah,
on the street. And Brad Pitt's like, no, in Seven when he sees the head of his wife, And he goes, that's kind of freaky, but I get it. And of course, Matthew McConaughey gets all right.
Yeah.
As what people say his famous line. That's funny. So that's your famous line that people say.
They don't say that to me, but yes. So I'll take it if they're saying that to you. That's fun. There's actually a video out I've been seeing on YouTube lately from the guy that plays Biff in Back to the Future movies. Yeah. I can't remember his name. He's a stand-up comic. And so he does this song about stop asking me all these questions. And so he's just like, I got all these questions all the time. And so I just thought I'll just write a song about it, is
that way you could
how is Michael J. Fox like? He's nice. How is Christopher, whatever. He's kind of weird, and all this stuff. Stop asking me these questions. All this, anyway, it's funny. So it's worth looking up if you want.
Speaking of that, like I just a random side note, like Crispin Glover sued the studio because he asked for like a crap load of money for the sequels.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't want to give it to him. And I think probably also because he was super difficult to work with.
Yeah.
And so they didn't have him. And what they did was when in the first one, if you remember, they made him look really old in the first episode.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, they had to take a mold of his face so that they can like work on how to make him look old. And then he would put that on with the extra stuff. Well, they found an actor for the sequels that favors Crispin Glover.
Uh-huh.
And then they put the freaking mold on his face and made him look like exactly like really super close to Crispin Glover. And so he got like, I think he got like $750,000 because he's like, you're using my likeness. You can't, you could fire me, but you can't like make some other guy like look exactly like me because you happen to have molds in my face for the first movie. That's not okay.
That's interesting. I don't even remember him being in the second, and we just watched the second one recently. Okay.
Crispin wasn't, but the character was,
Well, yeah. I don't remember the character, George. Anyway, that's interesting. I'll have to watch for that next time I
Weird, right? Yeah.
We have VidAngel, so shout out to Fit Angels. That means we can watch it as a family because those 80 movies, they even just like the ones that are just like PG or whatever. PG went harder. It was different in the 80s, and so we got Vid Angels so we can watch the Back to the Future movies with my kids.
Oh, there you go. I love it. I love it. So, hey, we're going to learn about a hit song breakdown. I love
Yes.
this.
So if you didn't see the graphic already, we might have already given it away. But the song I want to talk about today is called Dirt Cheap. The artist is Cody Johnson. The songwriter is Josh Phillips. And man, that just song has been killing me. The whole Cody record kills me, man. It's so good. And he's cutting outside songs, which is awesome. So he gets kind of the pick of the litter. It feels like
And
that's
this
what
is
happens.
a single, right? Not a two-way or a
Oh,
three-way?
yeah, which we're gonna talk about too. That's one of the ways it breaks some rules. But yeah, so
Wow.
I think it's just a killer song. I think there's a lot we can learn from this as writers ourselves. One to get that spot. That song took the spot you want. Let's learn from it. Let's learn from
Yeah,
success.
good
Yeah.
point. That song took the spot you wanted. Now learn from
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Get bitter, get better. I
I love
prefer
it.
to
All
get
right. Well,
better.
before we do that, let's take care of a little business here. Join the C.L.I.M.B community. You want to go to facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M.B community. Of course, you can just search for it and you'll find it. You got to ask to be let in. We let everybody in. And the only way I don't let you in is if it looks sketchy. And actually, I've been getting a lot of those lately. So I know we say this all the time, but I'm pretty sure they're sketch. But if I got it wrong, you need to DM me or something and let me know. But I mean, a couple of them that are like less than a year old. It's
Mhm.
very few. Sometimes it's hard to see like how many pictures are on there because if they're private, right? It's not until you friend them or until you let them in that you can see their what really goes
Yeah.
on their
Mhm.
in their Facebook uh, account. So it's weird. Sometimes it's hard to tell, and if there's not like overt, click this link for good girls or something. If it's not an overt hooker, right?
Right.
Then I don't know. So anyway,
So if you're not
yeah,
sure if you look sketchy or not, just DM Johnny.
yeah, just
Like,
put some thought into it, man. We want to have you in the community if you want to be here, believe
yeah.
me. And the only discretion that we use is if we think you're trying to sell something,
Right.
whatever that may be. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
From siding to porn.
Right.
So uh, it's like we're not going to have it. So if you feel like maybe that might look like that, and we've had a couple people do this, like I
Mhm.
just lost my account, I got it back, so this one's new, blah blah blah. Okay, let me know. But anyway, we want to hear this community is thriving. Everybody wants to support you. Just put your stuff in the right place. Here's the deal. It's always going to be a comment on one of the posts that are regular every single week, whether it's about a gig, which is the gig alert on Thursdays,
Mhm.
new music that you're putting out, which is New Music Monday, or whether it is on Wednesdays for Wednesday Wins, that kind of a thing. So just it's the only way that you put anything in the feed is if it's for everybody, which means it's not about
That's
you,
right.
right? It's about everybody else. So let's talk about some wins real quick.
Yeah, every week we post the New Heights segment. It's, we also call it Wednesday Wins. It's when we encourage you to share your wins with us so we know where it is, we know where the party is, we know where the celebration is, and we can comment and celebrate with you. So let's see here. We got a couple this week. Will Gunnell Music said, it's been a busy week. Just finished a co-write with a cool party type song with Brent Hoffer, which led to a podcast interview coming in June. Still have a couple more co-writes working. Also wrote music for and recorded a demo for PJ Rutledge, which received good reviews. Had a cool recording session with Southern rock country artist Braden Morris, where I produced and engineered, and just finished tracking, mixing, and mastering a new trop rock tune called Wherever the Current Takes Me, for my side project Tiki Twins. Once I give it the earbud test, I'll send it to the Trop Rock Radio for Trop Rock Radio and distributing. I think that's it this week. Whew.
Nice.
Will,
Well,
getting out there. Where there's
the
a
guy
will, there's a
will.
way, and where there's a will, there's a busy guy apparently. So
Yeah. That's right. Shh, you guys hear that? That's the sign of Will making moves, y'all. He's making moves.
I think that's
I love it.
enough of the wins for 1 week. So I'm just
No,
gonna
that's
highlight
that's
that one because
wonderful.
Will is doing that. And that's the thing, man. If you want to make progress, opportunity is attracted activity. It looks like Will has a bunch of irons in the fire, but they're all kind of related. He's producing, he's writing, he's mixing, he's putting out his own artist stuff. He's like doing what he can to make waves. Trop rock
Yeah.
pun, totally intended.
Da-doo.
But good job, Will. Keep on climbing.
All right, guys. So make sure you follow the podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. And above all, tell a friend about it. You know,
Mhm.
let them know, like, hey, there's a lot of good stuff going on in this podcast. You know, we're doing it to help people. You know, that's what we
Mhm.
want to do. So if we're helping you, it means we can help other people, right? So, all right, let's break down this song. Talk to me,
Yes.
Goose.
Dirt Cheap by Cody Johnson. So, I mean, he's a Texas country artist, but I mean, he's definitely way beyond the borders of that state, but that's where he hails from. Blew up huge in Texas, and he's been killing it on country radio and everywhere the last few
Yeah,
years
yeah, he sold out the Houston Energy Stadium, which is, I think, over 70,000 seats. He sold it out as an indie artist.
as an indie artist. Yeah. So he's been all right.
That's after that happened, that sealed the deal. That pretty much that's enough leverage right there, and he just went back and Warner's like, "Okay, what do you need?"
Yeah, exactly, and it's working. Everybody's winning
Yep.
on this one, it sounds like. So Dirt Cheap just came out, and I just think it's an incredible song. I think it's both a rule breaker and kinda shows you where the bar is set. So we'll do a little bit of listening to it. We're gonna break it down and just kinda pull out some lessons from it. Well, the first thing, that I wanna point out is it's a solo, right? Johnny, you mentioned that earlier. So it's written by Josh Phillips, and yeah, he wrote it himself, which is rare these days. I
Mhm.
mean, it is like the unicorn to see a song that is a solo right that gets cut and gets on the radio and has anything happen with it, unless it's like an artist solo right. But even then, that's super rare. So
Yeah.
kudos to Josh, man. He just wrote a killer song. I'm sure that'd be one of those top 10, songs I wish I'd written for NSAI for the end of the year. It's going to be a contender, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But awesome on that, and yeah, he was able to send it to some people and got it heard and got it. I think I heard a podcast with him. I want to say because he's buddies with Luke Combs, and like he sent it to Luke, and Luke was like, "Dude, I really dig this," but like Luke had just finished his record, so it was going to be a while. He's like, "Go ahead and pitch it around," and then it got to
Right.
Cody. So because Luke Combs would have killed it too. I
Yep.
could see that being a Luke Combs jam. So good songs, man. Get
Absolutely.
people interested. So that'd be lesson number one. If you write a great song, people are going to be interested in it, right? Luke didn't write
Yep.
on it, but he was like, "Oh man, I love this." Cody didn't write on it. He's like, "I love it." So if you write a great song, that's lesson number one. Like stuff comes to you. If the song is incredible, if you aren't getting the response you want as a writer, write better songs.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at myself in the mirror when I say that because a lot of my songs don't get the response I want. It means I need to write a dirt cheap. I need to write something incredible. And then people will be fighting over it.
You
People will
should
be happy.
never you should never not be thinking that you have to write better songs.
Right.
I
That
mean,
is
the second
always
that you're like,
an
"Okay,
answer.
I've got it. I just gotta keep writing them like this and I'll be good." No. No, no, not now. Because you know what? Even if you have like this groundbreaking song, right? I'm thinking of what's his face, who this single, right? No publishing deal for Friends in Low Places, Bud Lee.
Oh, Earl Bud
And
Lee. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, that groundbreaking song, right? Well, as soon as you do something like that, then guess what? The world hears it if it's a big, huge hit. Now, that's the bar. Now, everybody's going to write songs like that.
Mhm.
So, if your goal is to keep writing songs like that, and you wrote the first one, God bless you,
Yeah.
but you ain't getting the next one if you're not still thinking like, "Gosh, I still need to write a better song." Like,
Always. Oh, and it's so, what is a better song? It's so subjective. There's so much art to it and luck and all that stuff that goes into it. But man, one of the answers is always write a better song. Just keep
yeah.
going. That's always an answer. May not be the only answer for why things aren't happening for you, but it's one of the answers is go write a better song. So it's an outside right. He is a Warner Chappell writer. Josh Phillips is, uh, and Cody Johnson is on Warner Records. But his first call
Yep.
was to his buddy Luke Combs, who's not on Warner. But so that sure didn't help it. Didn't hurt its chances of getting to an artist like Cody. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how it got to Cody, but it was
Mhm.
basically an outside song. I mean, it wasn't written with the artist or with the producer, but there was some Warner connection there that helped it get heard. But stuff like that doesn't get the song cut. It just maybe helps it get heard. Um, a couple of things that are a little different about it too. These days on country, it's a story song, which you don't get as many of those right now in country. Now, Luke Combs has Where
Mhm.
the Wild Things Are, and so that's
Mhm.
more of a we talk about this 90s resurgent, like, are the 90s coming back? It seems like they've been threatened to come back for 10 years now. But I think
Yeah.
this is an example of a 90s type song and kind of that 90s comeback because it's a story song, it's country, it's 3.5 minutes, it's really a ballad, it's really emotional, tugs on the
Mhm.
heartstrings. Um, to me, that's like 90s. It's crafted the crap out of it, and it tells you a story, gives you like it goes on a journey, and so it really paints that picture. So to me, that's what I think of when I think of like 90s country, the best of
And
it,
with, man, I don't know if they did that. You're the bigger country expert than I am, but the other part is like he and this is like a very, very, very tricky line to cross. Like if you cross this line, you have to go with intention and know that this is going to go one of two ways. It's going to be really cool, or you're going to be the mayor of Cheesetown, right?
Mhm.
And that's the spoken word part of it, like,
Yeah.
"Darling, I saw you walk through that door," and, it's like, "No, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no." Usually, that just falls flat on its face, and you've really gotta kinda deliver it the right way, and, I guess that's just as much as a '70s and an '80s thing as it is a '90s country thing,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, I wouldn't call this like it's not like a recitation or it doesn't have that kind of stuff, but it is
I mean, no, he's
singing
singing
and
through
kind
it,
of
but the moments
talking.
where
The
where he's got a
moments he'll
couple
kind of
talking
say
parts.
something, kind of talk, and he has the voice to pull it off, and I think part of that too is the script that the actor is given. It's a very
Yeah.
believable script, and this character, this old crop farmer, is a believable character, and Cody has, the voice to pull it off, and it is kinda
Yeah,
like writing a
well,
script
the
for
script is one thing, but
mhm,
the actor still has to
the
sell
actor,
that line,
and he does.
and he sells it, and again, he if he couldn't have, which of course he can, you know what I mean? But, like,
Yeah.
for indie artists, right, like, if you haven't ever done that before, it might take you. You think, "Oh, that's part's gonna be easy, I'm just gonna talk it." Well, nah. Like,
Yeah.
I've recorded those before, it's like, "No, you might wanna rehearse that more than you do the singing before you go into the studio," because
Mhm.
it's like if you just I mean, the wrong pause, if there's no swagger on it, it
Yeah, it can fall flat. Well, it's funny, it
you'll
reminds
ruin
me.
the song, you can ruin the script,
Yeah, you
you
can
can
blow the
ruin a movie.
scene. I
Yeah,
was writing a song with, Jason Signs and Jade Eagleson over at, we were writing over Demolition, a couple months ago, and there's a part where Jade, like, at the end of a line, he says it instead of sings it, and with his voice, we just went, "Oh my gosh."
yeah,
We were
it's
like,
so good. Yeah.
"Do that. Dude, that thing you just do, oh, that's," and you just heard, like, cash registers go off, and it was, like, in a
Yeah,
verse, but it was, like, such a, like, a cool artist and, like, he has the voice to do it, and we're like,
yeah,
"Okay, you
and the
gotta do something
swagger,
like
it's
that."
the
Yeah, it's
swagger, I think it's
like
the
it
swagger,
fit the
it's just
tone
like
well, and it fits the tone of the song and what he was doing and the character and stuff. It was like, "Okay, Jade, you gotta do that." But anyway, hopefully the world will hear that one day. We'll see. We'll see.
yeah,
But, anyway, about this song, which the world is definitely hearing, so that's some setup on this. So it's yeah, I think it is a little bit of a '90s comeback, and it's a ballad, which is a little bit of a rule breaker too, man. You get an outside song cut, they say it better be song of the year. If
yeah,
it's especially if it's a ballad. I was like, "Well, this
yeah,
might be a contender. This might be a contender." It's like that's the bar, man. It's hard to get a ballad cut. I
yeah,
was talking to an A&R guy that's a friend of mine, looking for an artist. So, thankfully he called me back about a couple songs and he'd listened to two of them so far. He's like, "That third one, I've heard that before." I'm like, "Yeah, it's called so and so." He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." He goes, "We're only looking like tempo right now." I'm like, "Well, it's a ballad." He's like, "All right, I'll listen to it." But, he called me back. He's like, "Yeah, it's really cool, but, pass just because we need tempo." It's
yeah,
like, okay.
I wanna make a point about this too, like, this is human nature, like, what makes these determinations, right? Who
Mhm,
makes these rules and why do they make them? It's human nature that even the highest, most knowledgeable professionals that you would trust with all the advice in the world, whether it be the music industry or happens in the stock market too,
mhm.
are, they're still human. And so they
Yeah,
still sway with trends and they still get emotional about stuff and don't necessarily make stuff logical, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you talk about all the stockbrokers and the the big hedge funds that are responsible for all the pensions
Mhm.
across the country, for all the teachers and the workers and blah 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 and everything like that, and they all got intoxicated with the dot-com boom, right?
Yeah.
And all of the fundamentals went out the window, and they were spending $400 for a share of stock on a company that went public but still hadn't sold one widget yet,
Yeah.
and proven that they had, whether the tech was good or not good, doesn't matter. It was like, we don't know if the market likes it, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the same way that happened, I mean, rock and roll was like rock and roll throughout the 70s. And then the first crack when it came to ballads coming into the picture, the
Mhm.
first crack was REO Speedwagon's Keep on Loving You. They actually invented the
Hmm.
power ballad because that became the first ballad with like heavy guitars behind it, right?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden the blueprint was set, and that was a big, huge hit. But it still didn't move the needle enough until Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home.
Hmm.
Okay. So Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home was still so far outside of the fringe of what was happening on radio and what we think everybody wants, according to the record label, that they refused to release it, or they refused to pay for the video.
Mhm.
So that whole video that you saw, which was like iconic of them on the road, everything, Motley
Mhm.
Crue paid for that,
Yeah.
put that on MTV, and it became this huge, 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 it may be one of their most popular songs. And here's the point. After that, every single freaking record from every single freaking artist had a ballad on it. And the way it would be released, it's a rock band. So you come out with your tempo first,
Mhm.
let them know you're a rock band, and then number two, ballad. Second
Yeah.
release is a ballad, and that's how you get the girls there. So why are they saying we just want tempo? We just want tempo because that's what they think people want,
Well,
right?
that and I think they have their ballad. Like you said, the rock thing, they would have the ballad on the song. Well, those are easier to lock down a lot of times. Like, you get those. You have plenty to choose from. It's harder to find killer mids and up tempos that,
True.
speak to that particular artist and that sort of thing. So I think that's part of why they're generally not looking, because everyone takes their shots with their song of the year ballads. They can get those locked in pretty good. And so the bar is like super high because the numbers are just, they don't cut as many because they're not going to play as many in concert. They're not going to put as many on their records then, and they're not going to send as many to
Oh,
radio
that's a good
and all
point.
that stuff. So I think it's just a largely a
But there's not
mathematical
but hold on,
equation.
there's not a lot on the radio though, is what I'm saying. Like right now,
Yeah,
it's like there's far less ballads on country radio today than there was in the '90s. Would you say
probably
that's a
so.
fair statement?
Probably so, yeah.
So I think like something like this, if it gets big enough, all of a
Mhm.
sudden they can want ballads again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it can sway the
I don't think they may release more to radio. I don't know if it's gonna, like, change the percentage on records a whole lot, but the thing is the bar is super high for ballads because the artist, if it's
yeah,
something that is meaningful to them, they may write it themselves.
yeah.
Because here's something I wanna say. Okay. They may write it themselves, so there's not nearly as much for the outside song, so it has to be what you might call like a Don't Blink or um,
Mhm,
I Drive Your Truck or Dirt Cheap or, you know, While You Can
mhm,
or whatever. It's like that its bar is super high for the ballads. So which makes sense.
yeah.
So they need more just quantity of really strong tempos, and it's hard to find one that's not just the same old tempo. And same for ballad. But anyway, so let's go ahead and play like a verse of this, and then we'll come back, we'll talk about it, and
All
I'll
right.
just play it off here, and hopefully it sounds all right to y'all.
You came in thinking top dollar to that old cotton crop farmer. They knocked on his screen door and he said, Lord, what you need, boys? And they said, all the others went and cashed out. We got the subdivision all mapped out. It'll sit right here on this land. And you could leave town a rich man. And he said, boys, whatever you're offering, it won't be enough.
All right, so that's that first verse and pre-chorus. And a couple things I want to, and I would encourage y'all to, find the lyric on this. There are lyric videos, there are lyrics online. and you can kind of follow along. But one thing I like about this is that it has cool rhymes, like fresh rhymes, not worn out
Mhm.
rhymes. So top dollar, cotton crop farmer, so dollar and farmers. Like these aren't like super tight, like perfect rhymes, but
Right?
it's nice. It's just like, oh, okay, I can hear it. Screen door, what you need, boys. It's looser. You got that. And then in the second half, I really like these. Like, all the others went and cashed out. We got the subdivision all mapped out,
Yeah.
cashed out and mapped out. That's nice, right?
Yeah, it feels good.
It feels really good. And also you have kind of a double syllable on the first part, dollar, farmer, and then followed by one like door and boys, which is again loose rhyme, but cashed out,
Yeah, but
mapped out,
rhythmically,
land,
it's the
man.
similar. Yeah.
So it's interesting. So it's kind of changing it up a little bit as you go. And then they have just a little really unrhymed pre-chorus lifting you up into that chorus. But I thought that was cool. And it's the storytelling, right? Immediately, they came in thinking top dollar to that old cotton crop farmer. Knocked on the screen door and he said, Lord, what you need, boys? And they said, so it lays out the situation like really with a good economy of words. It takes a little while. This song is not a short song. Actually, maybe closer to 4 minutes. But you get the imagery in there. You get
Yeah,
knocking on the screen door.
the first 4 lines, it's just like, you know why they're there, and
Mhm.
then it's not just like they went and talked to him, they knocked on the screen door. You can see the screen door.
Yeah,
You can see
exactly.
it, you know? And then you can hear him, this old
Lord, what you need, boy.
cotton crop farmer, "Lord, what you need, boys?" Like, just
Yeah,
country as a cotton ball, literally, because he's a cotton farmer.
exactly. And then it's just explaining, just tell them the story. Like, just there's no fat on it. All the others went and cashed out. We got the subdivision all mapped out. It'll sit right here on this land, and you can leave town a rich man. So there is the setup, and then him going, boys, whatever you're offering, it won't be enough. And so one thing I love about this is like you don't need a video. You see the video
Yeah,
when you're listening to the song. I mean, just I hear the screen door creaking when I listen to this, and it even has a script, right? We're getting quotes in there, and he said, "Lord, what you need, boys." And so I just love that. And then it's also like melodically, it's lower, right? It's not. It's just kind of moving along there. No huge dynamics, right? But it's kind of interesting with the phrasing and it's just storytelling. There's a couple things in the verse. So
and
imagery,
hold on,
yeah.
can I add something to that? So,
Mhm.
I also like how I mean, look, in the first 2 lines, they came in thinking top dollar to that old cotton crop farmer. You're not exactly sure what's going on right now,
Yeah, but you may have a
you
pretty
know?
good idea if you're, you know,
No, but
been around
what
that
I'm
kind of
about to
thing.
get to though is like
Mhm.
it gets revealed,
Yeah,
it's like so you're kinda like, top dollar for what? Is
yeah,
cotton?
yeah,
For what's happening? Did somebody
true, yeah.
die? Like, what's you're not exactly sure what's happening, and then
Mhm.
they knocked on a screen door, which can be I mean, who knows what that's about, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Lord, what do you need?" And then, all the others went and cashed out, and then it's the 6th line. We got the subdivision all mapped out. Now
Mhm.
you know what they want top to give top dollar for his
Yeah, it is a
property.
little bit of mystery, and just think of that first line. They came in thinking top dollar. Like, one, I've never heard that as a first line in a song before,
Yeah.
right? And so it automatically
Who's
kind of
they, and what top dollar for what?
for what? It kind of opens a loop. It's not confusing, but it opens a loop. There's a difference between being
Yeah,
confusing and kind of opening a loop that we like, "Oh, well, tell me more." "Oh, cotton crop
yeah,
farmer? Okay, they want to buy something," and then we're seeing it happen, and then they lay it out. Josh lays it out, masterfully. Really well done. Let's get to that
yeah.
chorus. Let's listen to this.
'Cause I got a little girl that used to swing right there. I still see her pink bow in her brown hair. She's in the big city, but she still calls home. What's she gonna do if she comes back and we're gone? And over there under that white oak tree, beneath the cross is where my best buddy's buried. Lasted 13 hunting seasons running strong. Keep your money 'cause a man can't leave his dog. And over there's where I got down on one knee. You can't buy that kind of dirt.
All right.
Mm,
So yeah,
mm.
so good. So okay, first of all, the title is just it's like a classic Nashville songwriter twist on a cliche. We've all heard the phrase dirt cheap. Ah, got it dirt cheap, whatever. Well, this is you can't buy this kind of dirt. You can't buy that kind of dirt cheap. And so it's just like a simple you and they set it up where sometimes with those cliches that you're twisting, like I want to bring a different meaning to it. If you aren't very careful about it, people may still hear it the old way, right? And they may
Yeah,
be confused by it. You got to really set it up where it lands. And this plays off the dirt cheap, right? You can't buy it dirt cheap. So it's still like it's just one tick
it's still
over
yeah,
to enough of a twist. Like you can't basically you can't buy that kind of dirt cheap, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And by the way, to your point,
mhm.
that every line needs to point to the title.
Oh,
How important is the frickin' opening line, dude?
yeah, exactly.
Top dollar dirt cheap,
The whole
it's
thing
like,
sets up that
wow.
we want to buy your land. We want to buy this piece
Yeah.
of dirt. Whole thing, whole first verse is talking about that, and he does that one line pre, which he needed for the storytelling, so he can go right into the chorus with like the emotional stuff. So he has proven it. Like you talk about writing a check with your hook that your verse or your chorus can't cash. No, man,
Yeah,
he has deposited sufficient funds. So when he says you can't buy that kind of dirt cheap, every line in that chorus leads up to going, hell no, y'all can't. Nope.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you see why it's so important to this guy. He has proven it before he says it. Like, he's
yep,
deposited money before he writes that check with that hook, and you're like, "Can't argue with that," right? And actually, the guys don't, as we'll see in the second verse. But so form follows function, right? So you got the more kind of storytelling, not as big melodic, variation in the verse is setting it up, and then you hit that chorus. Melody rises up. It's much more melodic there,
mhm.
right? It feels emotional. And man, it's so much emotion. Like those pictures. For one thing, he's not just saying, hey, my family has so many ties here. We go back. Da, da. No, man, he doesn't say it. Pictures are proof. He proves it.
Yep,
And since they're standing there, my little girl used to swing right there. And my dog's over behind that tree. And right over there is where I got down on one knee. So it's all related to this place and
and he
specific
gives you
things you can
pictures
see
on the
it.
girl, pink bow, brown hair,
Oh
and
yeah.
clearly the white oak tree means that's an old oak tree
Okay.
that's been there for a long, long time,
Hmm.
you know? And yeah, and then his best buddy, and you're
Yeah.
like, "He buried his friend in the backyard?" Like, "What? Oh, of course he did, like, it's a dog," you know? You're like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god." Ugh.
Yeah. Keep your money because a man can't leave his dog. and
Mm,
and I love this because it gives so much characterization to this cotton crop farmer. Like you now verse and the chorus in, you get a sense of his character, his attitude. Lord, what you need, boys. All right, whatever you're offering, it won't be enough. And like you got this script, and I see like Clint Eastwood or something, like
yeah,
this tough guy, but he's also sentimental. And you see what's important to him. You see that family's important. You see that, love of his wife, his dog, you know what's important to this guy, and it ain't the money. It's these
yeah,
things. And so, man, that's just a country standard right there of like family, love, dog, my land, like, and not, it's not about the money. Like
yeah,
that is the audience, right? That's what you're speaking to. That's fit the format, man. That makes sense for a country song, right?
yep,
So I love that. So I mean, you got storytelling, you got the kind of the head in the first verse, and
yep,
then that chorus, man, to go straight to the heart.
yep,
So it's very different, and you're like, oh, dadgum, you can't argue with that. Which in the second verse they don't argue with it, but again, you're seeing the video, right? You're seeing the video, the whole thing. Set up
mhm.
in the verse, emotional payoff in the chorus, and let's just listen to the second verse just a little bit.
One man smiled and he kind of looked away. The other said, before we go, I gotta know one thing. Between the droughts and the floods through all the years, what in the world got you through? How the hell did you get here? And he said,
All right, so there we have first person I heard call it this was Blue Foley, he said Nash half. We Nash half that verse. So the second verse is half of the first verse.
That's right.
So Blue was the first one I heard call it the Nash half, which, I mean, it was a thing I already knew it, but I just didn't have that terminology. But yeah, cutting the second verse in half because you don't need as much story. Like, get us back to the heart, right?
Yeah.
We've heard the chorus. We don't need that long of a second verse. So just because your first verse might need that, and their first verse needed it, and they used every inch of that real estate very well. I say he, Josh, go good on you. Anyway, in the second verse, he cut it in half because you don't need a whole nother long verse. Song's long enough anyway. But we talked about, based on what that guy said, what's the real reaction? You can't argue with it. So one man smiled and kind of looked away. The other like, we're done. The other one said, hey, before we go, we got to know one thing. Between the droughts and the floods through all the years, what in the world got you through? How the hell did you get here? And he said, so you didn't even, so you shorten that verse and you lift into that chorus much more than you did in the first verse and pre. And so it changes. It's a new angle. And it's like,
Can I also
yeah,
add that it also brings in, I mean, it's subtle, but it brings in conflict, right? They're pushing back on him.
yeah,
They're trying to sell him into selling his house,
mm-hmm.
and they're trying to remind him of the pain that
Yeah.
everybody else that cashed out had, trying to be a crop farmer, trying to be a cotton farmer, with all the droughts and the floods, like, you know,
How'd you
they're
make
trying
it?
to remind him of like, you want this some more, or do you want to cash out and go live a good life? And he's like,
That's
and then
interesting
he
because
goes,
I didn't think about it in that angle. I just thought it was an interesting way of going, now it's showing that the stuff in the course is what got him through those hard times, which is what he is saying too. I didn't think about them just trying to bring in like, well, all the floods and the droughts through the years, but it's like, to me, it's like almost they know and they stop. Like, like they'll try again
see, to
because they
me,
have
okay, so
to,
I'm the
but
sales guy. To me, like, they're trying to gently push back on him
yeah,
and
that's
remind him
interesting.
of, like, he's got more of that coming. Like,
Yeah.
are you sure? Without asking, "Are you sure?" Because a guy like that, you can't say, "Are you sure?" You gotta
r-
you can't close him. You gotta remind him of the pain, then he's gonna make a decision one way or
As
the
that
other.
old man said in Pure Country, you got to know. I mean, you got to know. Uh, but so I love that. So it's like, yeah, so got some more imagery in there, droughts and floods, and it just reminds us like this old, again, it's Clint Eastwood, right? It's like
Yeah,
the old, farmer cowboy guy. And what got you through? Well, that little girl used to swing right there. Like, I wouldn't leave it then for droughts and floods. I'm not going to leave it now for a paycheck,
yeah,
right?
yep,
And
yep.
what's interesting is the course is long. There's a lot of words in this course.
Mhm.
Um, which normally we try to get them shorter, But one thing that Josh does in this is he changes up the course each time. And I don't think we're
Yes.
gonna play them all, but so that little girl used to swing right there. I still see her pink bow in her brown hair. So that's the same. Running up after one of them long days, a big smile making every worry fade, every little worry fade. So that's how it got me through. That little girl, she'd run up and hug me and make every little worry fade from the droughts and the floods. That hug from that girl running up to me. And over there under
Mhm.
that white oak tree beneath the cross where my best buddy's buried. So that's the same. All them hunting seasons freezing in a John boat, me and him double barreling a 2-stroke. And that woman that said yes when I got down on one knee. Yeah, you can't buy that kind of dirt. So it's changing it up. It's giving a little more context to his
Mhm.
relationships. Now you don't just see the girl swinging, now she's in the big city, but now you see her running up to him and you see him hunting with his dog and you see the girl saying yes. Like, it's fleshing
Yeah,
out these pictures that we already got, like gives you more depth to it, like even like pulls more on the heartstring because now it's becoming more and more real. We're getting more detail subtly, but it's
yeah.
like diving deeper into that, like why you won't. So I love that. And it's fresh.
Can I go back a little bit just to
Yeah.
kind of put frame out the title again, how you were talking about it's one tick over.
Yeah.
What a great way to, like, we've done it a million times on the song title challenge, right?
Mhm.
Where, okay, here's the title. Um, Now, what if we put some punctuation in there, right? Like dirt cheap is is That's the cliche,
Mhm.
right? But if you put a comma in there, dirt, cheap.
Right.
Now it's like, "Oh, crap, what comes before dirt?" Now you gotta think about it forces you to think about it a different
Yeah,
way
because like
and
dirt
can
cheap
lead you to that one tick over like this, you know?
exactly, like, dirt cheap is normally just an adjective. Dirt cheap together is an adjective. Well, what if you make the
Yeah.
dirt a noun and the cheap the adjective?
Yeah.
And that's what they did, right? That's what Josh did is like, "Oh, dirt is the noun, cheap is the adjective. D cheap
And a lot of
describes the dirt."
times that can completely change the
Mhm.
meaning of the hook, which is cool, right? Which
Oh,
could be
yeah.
the ambush in and of itself. But what's so brilliant here is that, like, you were right, it's like it's a shade of gray off of what it still means like the same thing, but they said it in a different way with the same 2 words. How the hell do
Yeah,
you do that? That is so good,
exactly.
man.
You're not getting this dirt cheap, which
Yeah,
he could have written it that way. You can't get this dirt cheap, but I'm glad he did it the way he did it, right? I think he made a good choice. But I
yeah,
love that in the course that it's since it's long, it changes some of the stuff in there. You still get a lot that you're familiar with from the first course, and now you're getting but there's some changes in there that just pull you more and more into the story and give you more depth. They didn't go to a completely different thing. Like he didn't go, "Oh, and here's other examples," which you could have done. It could have worked, right? Like songs like "The Good Stuff" by Kenny Chesney. Like the second chorus goes into like different stuff. Here, you go back to home base, but you go deeper, right? And I also like the bridge. It says, "No, it ain't something you fall into. It's something God gives you and you hold on to." So it gives you more of that characterization, his motivation on the bridge, and a short bridge.
and it's pointing back to it's deepening it's going deeper on his response
Mhm.
to the question because what they said was, between the droughts and the floods through all the years, like, what in the world got you through? How the hell did you get here? Like,
Yeah.
as if it was an accident.
Yeah. He's like, "I tell you how you
It
got here. It's"
Yeah, this ain't I didn't fall into this. It's
yeah.
something God gave me, and I ain't letting go of it,
Yeah.
and wow.
And that brings in another big classic country subject matter, which is God, some faith.
Yep,
It's not like super religious. It's not preachy or anything, but it's, so it's very, kind of base level of, hey, God gave this to me, and God gives you something, you hang on to it. And so it
yep,
lets you know more about this guy's character, but also, he worked for it. It ain't something you fall into. But so there's a
yep,
subtext there of like, I worked for it, but yet God gave it to me, which is always that kind of that tug and push and pull of God's gifts and your responsibility to work and that kind of stuff. But so there's good meat in there but it doesn't drag it all out. But it
mhm,
shows that the guy's humble, right? God gives it to you. So he didn't take all the credit. He's thankful, obviously, and
mhm,
feels responsible for what God gave him. Like, I want to be a steward of this. Like, hey, he gave it to me. I'm responsible for this. I ain't letting go of it. So it just builds that character. And so, man, you talk about your John Wayne, your Clint Eastwood, or your Jimmy Stewart,
mhm,
classic, like just kind of all American farmer, good guy, family, God, his dog, and I'm not quitting.
yeah,
America. Um,
Virgo.
so and then you have that last course, which goes into it some more, like just like that little girl who used to swing right there. I still see her pink bow and her brown hair. She's in the big city now, but she still calls home, and that was the same as the first course, I believe. But then you
Yep,
change the line. She's coming back next week, and man, it's been too long. So now we're
yep.
catching up to and over there under that white oak tree beside the cross where my best buddy's buried lays a puppy posted up in the shade. That woman never could turn away a stray. Guess that's why she said yes when I got down on one knee. As long as all that is here, why the hell would I ever leave? You can't buy that kind of dirt cheap. Just
Mm,
it's so elegantly done, right? The
yeah,
crafting in this, how he moves from the past into the like, I got a future here, right?
yeah,
My girl's coming to visit. She's coming back. I got a puppy over there.
yeah,
Like, and my wife's still with me. Like, I got a future here. It's not just the past.
yep,
He moves subtly and elegantly into like what I got now and what I got to look forward to. My girl's coming to visit, which he foreshadows in the first chorus when he says, she's in the big city but she still calls home. What's she gonna do if she comes back and we're gone?
yeah,
Like, where's
yeah,
she gonna come home to if home ain't here anymore? And then in the last one, you kind of wrapped up going, she's coming next week, and it's been too long. And then the dog, the dog's dead, but now we got a puppy. Like, and so
Uh-huh.
what, like hope and stuff. But I just love how he takes, we got a puppy posted up in the shade. That woman never could turn away a stray. Oh, which reminds me, I guess that's why she said yes when I said, got down on one
Yeah.
knee. Like I was a stray she took in. The humility, the love,
Yeah.
woman on a pedestal, dog. I mean, come on.
He checked off all the freaking boxes,
Oh,
man.
and did it
We
so
made it work.
work like a freaking charm. I mean, you're talking about like pulling every heartstring you got and it's so well done. And you don't see the work, right? It's not shoehorned in there. It just like feels so natural. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It doesn't feel like work. But this sucker's crafted
He didn't
like
check the
crazy.
boxes for the sake of checking the boxes. Like,
No,
he wrote a really good song, and they happened to check all the boxes
I
on that,
just
which is so
and
smart.
yeah, and just how, and I just love that how you pivot on that. She couldn't turn away a stray. So now you know where the
I
puppy came
mean,
from, and that's me.
you
Oh,
you
so
talk
good.
about it being a story song, man, and I'm thinking of some of the greatest story songs and how the song was essentially what they call in Hollywood a treatment
Mhm.
for the movie, right? Whether it
Yeah,
was like a made-for-TV movie,
yeah,
which is The Gambler, right?
yeah.
Or, also, Fancy, right?
Mhm,
Like, they did that. I mean, like, it's just so good. There's so much that a screenwriter can expand off of this, like, "Oh, we can turn this song into a movie. This is a great movie because there's conflict in there.
mhm,
It's David versus Goliath. How big is
mhm.
this company that wants to buy all these
Yeah.
houses? And what end are they going to go to
Mhm,
get this guy out? There was a movie that was like exactly the same as this, but it's not about land, but it's the same kind of premise. Called Buried on. I think it's on. It's either on Netflix or it's on Prime, but it's with Tommy Lee Jones
mm,
and Jamie Foxx, and if you haven't seen it, it's a freaking phenomenal
mm,
movie, and, I mean, everybody's so good in it, and the story is so good, but he's just Tommy Lee Jones owns a chain of, funeral homes,
mhm,
and there's some big, huge company that wants to buy up all these funeral homes, and they go to buy his, and he won't sell. And so then the conflict comes in. Well, now they're going to do all these things to try to make him sell, and he's going to fight for it. Just a little
hmm.
guy in Mississippi, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's a great movie, man. It may not seem like it, like on the surface, it doesn't give you the depth of what's going
yeah,
on, but it's this thing. It's this
yeah.
story just with different details. But it's
Mhm.
man, you could do so much with this. It's incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and another thing I wanna point out is the authentic language in this song, right? So this character, it feels very true, right?
Hmm.
Little languages like puppy posted up in the shade. You just post it up, right? Like, just interesting way of saying it, but totally makes sense
Hmm.
for this farmer to say posted up or to say,
Hmm.
double barrel and a two-stroke. Like,
Yeah.
just those details and calling his dog his best buddy, which I like the
Yeah.
alliteration, best buddy buried, you know?
Yep.
But just all that stuff feels like this, it's a script, right? The script for this character, which is the old farmer,
Yeah.
and the script matches the character, and it also really matches Cody Johnson in this case, who's the actor in a way portraying this character and reading this script. Like all those words make sense in Cody's mouth. Because
Yeah.
we kind of
Yep.
see him as the old guy, even though he's not an old guy and he's not the character. He's telling us a story, but still, like those words make sense coming out of his mouth,
It would
and
be
so it
because all
fits the
these
artist.
things are his Cody's values. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, exactly. It's talking about something
they're
that is his brand.
yep. It could have been his grandpa or his next door neighbor or
Yeah,
something like that. You know what I mean? Like
those are his
it could have been
people.
like yeah.
And just
Yep.
speaking to bigger things, like yeah, it's a story about a guy not wanting to sell his farm to a developer, which is
Mhm.
very like that's a thing, right? That's pretty
Mhm.
universal. We've, see how farmland and stuff gets eaten up, and it's been talked about a bunch in songs and movies and stuff. But really what it's about is about family and love and that kind of stuff. It's about bigger things and the value of that over money, which is like a big universal thing that we can take away and go, man, that stuff is valuable. Family, love, all that good stuff, history, all that is valuable, and it's not worth just selling out for $1. You can see where the guy's coming from. And I think it's like taking a big universal topic and writing it very specifically.
Yeah.
You find the universal in the specific. It's a very specific story. It's the pink bow and the brown hair. It's the dog and the puppy posted up and all this stuff. So very super specific. But really what it's talking about is like family is important. Love is important. That kind of stuff.
And here's a guy that's showing you he's being your North Star, like a good example, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like, watch what he's doing. He ain't giving up on it. You know what I mean?
Not giving up on it.
Not for top dollar. You know what I mean? Because this is more important. And I love that part of it. Yeah. It teaches us, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. Dude, Josh Phillips. Good on you, man. What a heck of a song. I know, right? Cody Johnson, thank you for putting that into the world. They kill. The production's great. Singing's great. Song's great. Yeah. Love it. That makes, stuff like that just makes me go, all right, buckle up. Oh, that's right. That's the bar. Okay.
That's right.
Time to work hard.
There we go.
Hey, but listen, thank y'all for sitting in on this one with us. I've had fun diving into this song. If you want to write songs that are more commercial, that have more of a chance to do what this song did, definitely learn from this song. But I also have a gift for you. It's called 6 Ways to Make Your Songs More Commercial. And some stuff I've learned from my years in the music business. You can get that at 6 Simple Ways. That is 6, the number 6, simpleways.songwritingpro.com. 6simpleways.songwritingpro.com, or you just go to songwritingpro.com, click around a little bit, you'll find it. But that's my gift to you. Just tell me where to send it to you. It's a free PDF download, and it'll help you on your songwriting journey. So that's what I got.
Well, there we go, guys. Listen, that brings us to the end of another killer episode of The Climb. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.